Good afternoon, everybody. I hope you're all doing well. I hope you're all keeping safe and keeping sane. First of all, before I get to into chatting to Diesel, I just want to say a massive thank you to Omar for coming on yesterday. Listen, a brand new show yesterday, chatting to my subscribers, and it was the first episode. And Omar come on and was brilliant. Listen, I know it's not easy coming on YouTube, and especially if it's your first time on camera. And listen, it can be a bit daunting at times. Listen, I still get flummoxed from time to time now when I'm talking on camera. But Omar, you've done a fantastic job, so thank you for that, mate. And anybody else who wants to be on a future episode, just get in touch with me and I'll make it happen. How are you, Diesel, mate? How are you?
Yeah, I'm all good, thanks, Dan. Yeah, no, listen, appreciate you having me on, mate. I just want to echo what you said a little bit, actually, because I saw the one with Omar. And Omar, listen, I thought you done brilliantly, mate. One thing I will say, it's not easy to come on here. Not easy at all. And, you know, to have done it, I know you was a little bit nervous about it, mate, but you grew in confidence. But yeah, listen, it's not easy, and you know, believe it or not, I still get a little bit nervous about 5-10 minutes before I'm about to go live, because I'm still quite new to it as well, Dan, you know. So anyone who can do this, sit in front of a camera and talk in front of loads of people watching, you got my utmost respect. So Omar, well done, mate.
Yeah, and
Brilliant.
and I agree with that, Diesel, because you know, when I watched myself when I first started my own channel, and when I first, you know, this all come about because I did AFTV interviews and I enjoyed them, so I wanted to do my own channel. And it's not easy, you know, talking in front of people, and even I get into half of the conversation and I lose my trail of conversation, and it's not easy especially when you're going solo and you're talking on your own. It is very, very difficult. And it is, once you flick that live button or that record button, you know you're talking to lots of people, and it is hard. It's kind of like flicks a switch in your head, as if to say, okay, now you're talking in front of people. I think what you've got to remember, and I will say this to anybody who's thinking about starting YouTube, is just try and forget that the cameras are rolling. Forget that the cameras are rolling. And like I said all along as well, it is easier when you've got people to talk to. When you're going solo, it is a little bit daunting at times. And when you've got somebody who can talk to and you can bounce opinions off, it's a lot easier to just think that you're talking to a group of mates. And when you do get into the flow of conversation, you forget that the cameras are rolling half the time.
Yeah, you do, especially when you're talking about something that you're passionate about. You know, obviously in our case, our club Arsenal. You know, it's you get lost in the chat. You know, and one thing I will say as well, you know, to the guys in the chat room watching this, and to you, Daniel, listen, we're all going to get negative comments. We're all going to get trolls. It's unfortunately in this day and age, it's part of life. My whole thing about it, you know, is if you've got a thick skin, you're halfway there. Not everyone's going to like you. You're not going to be everyone's cup of tea. You can be the nicest bloke in the world. Not everyone's going to like you. It's just a fact. What I would say, the way I look at it is, until that troll starts paying my way in life and starts paying my bills, then I'll start to care. Until then, I couldn't give a toss what they say, mate.
Exactly.
Luckily for me, Dan, I don't really get much. I don't really get a lot of trolls at all. I can probably count on one hand the negative comments I've had. But my advice to those guys, you know, come on and do it yourself. You know, it's not as easy as what people think. And Omar, listen, mate, just once again, massive respect to you, mate, because, yeah, you know, obviously Instagram first, and now you're on the stream, mate. You're getting there, aren't you? You're getting there. Big up to you, bro. Big up.
And, nice, you know, I agree with you, Diesel, about trolls. You know, listen, a lot of the trolls I get, and I don't get many, you know, if any at all, like especially on YouTube. I was taken aback at how people have been so supportive, because listen, you know, I know better than anybody that trolls are out there, and they just, you know, at the end of the day, they're a part of life. Unfortunately, you either learn to accept them, and if you can't accept them, then you know, maybe you shouldn't do stuff like YouTube if you're easily offended, because listen, there's going to be people out there that say stuff, and like you said, Diesel, you're not going to be liked by everybody. You know,
Yeah.
the way I deal with trolls is I just block them and move on. You know, I don't give them. There's no appeals process. There's no second chances. I just block them and move on, because what I'm finding as well is that the people who troll me are ones that necessarily don't understand about, you know, about my visual impairment, and that comes out of not knowing how to deal with someone who's totally blind, you know, because I get it not just on YouTube. You know, growing up, I deal with trolls in a sense that they would, you know, come to me and go, oh, so how do you do this, how do you do that? You know, generally their natural defense is to go, oh, well, you shouldn't do this, you shouldn't do that. Okay, yes, it's wrong, and I completely understand that it's wrong, but I also understand that it's out of ignorance, especially when it comes to blindness, because there are a lot of people out there who don't know how to deal with a blind person. And we live in a society where you've got the Royal National Institute of Blind People who put out these videos of blind people where they have round the clock support, and they have you know, they have houses like with supported living and various things like that. In my opinion, it's the wrong sort of message to put out there, but you know, I guess they've got to fund the charity somehow by putting videos out there. In my personal opinion, I don't think the RNIB should be putting out videos like that, simply because it does send out the wrong message. And it's like I always say to people, that blind people are just ordinary human beings. Yes, there are the worst case scenarios when people first lose their sight. There's people out there that do struggle from time to time and do have a lot more support. But listen, it's bound to happen. If you've had full sight and then you go blind suddenly, it's going to happen. You know, it's going to happen. But in my opinion, there's blind people out there like myself who do more than what some sighted people do in terms of traveling and you know, like being independent and going to football matches and various other things. And I always say, I'll say to anybody, don't prejudge before you've got to know a blind person or any person with any disability, you know, because that's the worst thing you could possibly do.
Yeah. No, Dan, do you know what? I totally agree with you, mate. And do you know what? Fair play to you, right? Because, you know, you're, for me, an example of someone who's blind, but yet, you know, you still go to football matches, right? You know, I've seen a lot of your fan cams on AFTV, and you know, unlike many, you know, you speak a lot of sense, right? And you know, the fact that you've started up a YouTube channel, which is growing really, you know, quite nicely, by the way. You've not let your blindness get in the way of that. You know, you're a figure of someone who's basically, look, I'm blind, you know, but I'm still going to do this. I'm still going to go to a game. I'm still going to comment on the game. I'm still going to go on a fan cam. I'm still going to, you know, create a YouTube channel and put content on there. So, you know, you're a shining example of, you know, someone who's obviously got, you know, you're blind, but you're not allowing that to affect what you do. And do you know what, mate? Fair play to you. Fair play. And anyone who trolls is especially on things like that, a disability, for me, it's a scumbag. It's disgusting. And you know what? I've got no time for people like that, mate.
I think it's the way I've been brought up as well, Diesel. You know, I've been brought up. Listen, I'm from a family where I'm used to people joking. I'm used to people joking around. And listen, I'm the first to joke around about my blindness. You know, I'll be the first person to walk into a room, trip over a chair, and turn around and say to myself, well, I should have seen that coming. You know what I mean? I'm the first person. And I don't mind that. Humor's good, you know, because humor I use humor a lot with my disability, simply because it's, you know, it's when people are serious about it, you know, like, oh, you shouldn't be doing this, you shouldn't be doing that. Because I'll tell you something, Diesel, when people tell me I can't do something, I'll just go and do it. Do you know what I mean? Like, if somebody, if somebody says to me, "Oh, you should go on a plane on your own," listen, I've been on so many planes on my own. Do you know what I mean? I've traveled across the world, and it don't bother me. You know, it really doesn't. It doesn't bother me the fact that I can't see. It doesn't bother me the fact that that I have a disability, because at the end of the day, the way I look at it is I am no different to anybody else. Yes, I can't see, but I still go out and have fun. I still go to pubs. I still do everything that a sighted person can do. And I just think that society as well now, I do think, and I don't blame society for sometimes being a little bit not clued up on blindness or any disability. I think that everybody's lost in their own worlds, because listen, we live in a hectic world at the best of times, let alone with this pandemic. So I do think it comes down to people being educated. I think people need to be more educated, and I always say as well, it's up to us blind people to educate people, because there's blind people out there, and it really makes me mad. There's blind people out there that are offered help and they turn it down out of pride. Now, I'm the first to admit that I encourage every other blind person to be as independent. But listen, everyone needs help. It doesn't matter whether you're blind, sighted, the different colored skin or anything. Everybody needs help. Everybody needs help, whether they like to admit it or not. Everyone needs help. And the worst thing you can do is refuse it, because then eventually it will come back to bite you when you do need help. People will be like, well, I just tried to help you, but you refused it before. So it's not easy. It's not easy. And all I say to people who are thinking of trolling, and just think before you do that, because not only are you going to possibly upset somebody, there's a lot of people out there with mental health issues who actually will take that to heart. And listen, your words on a keyboard might have a profound impact to somebody's mental well-being. So just think, 2 minutes of power on a keyboard will massively impact somebody's well-being. And just before you write those horrible words, and before you thinking of saying horrible stuff to people, just stop and think for 2 minutes and think what that's going to do to somebody's mental health and mental well-being.
Listen, I totally agree. Right, one thing I will say, I think a lot of it is to do with a lack of education, as you say, right. But if I'm totally honest, Dan, I think there's a lot of people out there who are just pure evil. If you, I reckon, me personally, I reckon 7-8 times out of 10, the vast majority of these trolls are literally little kids, right? They're little kids, and they're the kind of people who are it's very easy for them to hide, and I emphasize that word, hide. Hide behind a keyboard and say what they got to say. I'd put my mortgage on it, right? If they could have the bottle to actually say that to my face on the street, it'd be a totally different story then, wouldn't it? It'd be a different conversation, right? A lot of them couldn't do that, right? It's cowardly, mate. It's cowardly, and because of that, I've got no respect for it at all.
No.
You know what I mean? They're the kind of people who would troll you, Daniel, but if they see you at a game, right, they're up your ass. It's
exactly. And
just tell you how it is. You know what I mean?
It is, mate. It is exactly how it is. And do you know what it was, right? I used to. There was a time where I'd get literally offended by everything. So someone would say a nasty comment to me, and I'd be like, I'd take it to heart, like literally to the point where I'd stay indoors, and I'd be like, okay, maybe they're right. And then I'd got to a point where I just woke up one day, and it was like a flick of a switch, because I was literally like, do you know what? I'm not going to let people dictate to me how I live my life. I'm not going to let people say those words, because at the end of the day, the way I look at it is, once they've said those words, it's impacting my life, but it's not impacting their life. And I'm thinking, you know what, why am I going to give people that power? So ever since then, I've just been like, you know what, they can say what they want. They can say what they want. They can do what they want, because at the end of the day, they don't affect my life. They don't pay my bills. They don't put food on my the table.
Exactly, mate.
And
that's what I'm saying.
they don't they're not paying my rent at the end of the day, so why should I let them affect me? And ever since then, from the age of 16, I've just come up with that new mentality, and listen, it doesn't work for everybody because everybody's different, but I try and encourage people, don't, at the end of the day, sticks and stones, that's all it is. Sticks and stones, that's what, that's the only best way to describe it. And words are just words. Yes, some people take them to heart and that, but at the end of the day, the best thing you can do to people like that is go out there and live your life and prove them wrong. Go out there, live your life, go out there, be the best you can be at whatever you decide to do. And the more you're kind to people, the more people will be kind to you, and the more good things will happen to you. That's the way I look at it.
No, mate, you listen, I'm totally with you, right? I'm one of them people that, if when it comes to trials, I want to do it, I want to get back at them even more than, if I mean, we've had quite a few on our channel, Claude and the Bansters, and to be fair, we've got an absolute class chat room. I will say that, we've got a lot of regulars, a lot of the people who are watching us right now, obviously, are in our chat too. So, we have like similar, subscribers.
Similar chat room.
You will get one or two trolls, but like I say, it's literally water off a duck's back, mate. It literally is, and I just, the more we do, the more it annoys them. And you know what? I love it. I'm not going to lie, I love it. It's funny because they don't rattle us, but we rattle them. For some unknown
for whatever reason.
Yeah, for whatever reason. It's that saying, isn't it? We're living in your head like rent free. You know what I'm saying?
And I've just, when I started YouTube, I was like, is it going to go one way? It's either going to be a success or it's going to be something that doesn't take off. And, from now, I could never, ever have expected the support I've got from, not just from people who I know, like yourself, Claude, and Terry, but from people in the chat room, people in, people in the chat room, especially in mine chat and your chat, is just nothing but kind words and nothing but support. And that's why I started the series, Chatting to My Subscribers, because I love interacting with people. I love, and everybody's got a different background. Everybody's, we all follow Arsenal, but everybody follows Arsenal in different ways. You don't necessarily, not everybody can go to Arsenal games. Not everybody can do the things we do. We're quite fortunate that we live in the UK and that we can go to games, but not everybody is in the same position as us. And it's nice to get that, to let people have their say.
This is a reminder from Song
to let people have their say.
To play, just ask me to open.
Hold on one sec. Diesel, just chat to these. I'm just going to shut my echo up. Sorry, but this the.
Sorry, the guys in the chat. That's Daniel's side piece.
Alexa, volume 1. Yeah, do you know what, mate? It's proper. I don't know. Just typical woman always finds an excuse to butt in it. Do you know what I mean? Like,
yeah. That was your side piece, Stan. I'm assuming the wife is out, is she? Or
no, mate. The wife's in the bedroom, mate. She's doing so. I don't know what she's doing, but yeah, she's in the bedroom. I don't know what's happening. It's just with the blooming reminders or anything. It's just proper mad. It's yeah.
And Daniel, right, and this is what I was going to say to you as well, right, because I know that sometimes you do get the odd little nasty comment or whatever, right? You've got a missus, yeah, you're married, right? You've got a woman there who loves you to bits, right? You're a nice bloke, you go to games, you've got your own YouTube channel, you've got a lot going for you, right? And I generally mean this, right? Don't ever, sometimes, obviously, I know you're mentally, you're a strong bloke. I can only imagine, right? You've gone through some, crap in your life with your, you being blind, and obviously over the years, especially when you're younger, what kids can be like and stuff like that.
Yeah, definitely.
you know, because I think I watched a stream of yours the other week where you said, I think, yeah, you obviously going through a bit of an hard time. And I think a few days went by without you putting a stream out. Yeah. So all I want to say to you, mate, take it from me, right? You know, you will get those days where out of every 100 comments, you know, 99 of them, you can just bat them away. There'll always be that one or two that may get to you, right? So all I want to say, don't ever let it get to you, mate, because these people, they don't know you. You don't know them.
Yeah.
You're never going to meet them. Do you know what I'm saying? So don't ever, you know, get down by it. I know you probably won't. I'm just saying, you know, don't ever let them win. That's what I'm trying to say.
Absolutely.
You know, don't let them win. You know,
absolutely, and you're right. You know, and it's. Do you know what it was the other week? Right, it wasn't down to comments that got to me. It was this. Do you know what it is? This whole lockdown situation. You know, listen, it gets to everybody. You know, especially you have good days, and then you just have a day where you think, fucking hell, I can't take any more of this being stuck indoors.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? You can't.
Yeah.
It's not good for your health, physical or mental. And I just had a couple of those days where I was like, I can't take it no more. You know, this being indoors, and then I just got to thinking. You know, I got to thinking that there's worse people off than us. You know, there's worse people off, and that's what I do, and that's what I tell myself whenever I have a down moment or a down day or a down hour. I just think to myself, there's worse people off than us. And listen, you know, the NHS who are out there fighting tooth and nail to keep this virus at bay, who are doing a fantastic job. You know, they're the real heroes. You know, not the government, because I'll come on to that in a second. You know, the latest stuff. Not the government, not anybody, any one of us. You know, yes, we're staying in and we're doing our bit, but then troopers on the NHS, and that's what they are. They're troopers. Let's not, you know, sugarcoat it. They're troopers going in there, putting themselves in harm's way, deliberately in harm's way, to protect us, to protect the British public, and to keep the virus, you know, people who have got the virus, to keep them safe and stable. And that is fantastic, you know, absolutely fantastic. Every one of them deserves a pat on the back and a round of applause. Hence why we clap it on Thursdays, you know, at 8 o'clock, because little things like that, you know, that they'll probably be seeing that and think, yeah, we're appreciated. Because let's be honest, Diesel, right? The NHS, up until this virus, has never really been properly appreciated.
No,
not by the government, not by people. Never properly appreciated. And it is just proper insane that it takes a global pandemic for them to finally be, you know, be noticed. And it's sad that it has to be that way. And listen, I want to get on to the latest from the government. You know, what did you make of old Boris Johnson's statement yesterday?
Do you know what, Dan? There's a lot of it's very split. You know, I was looking on Twitter earlier on, and there's a lot of people saying, well, you know, they're all for it. You know, Boris spoke total sense, and you know, this, that, the other. And then there's others saying, I'm even more confused now. You know, after that, and I'm to be honest, I'm in that camp. I'll listen, when it comes to the government in this, you know, during this pandemic, I've never hid away from it. You know, and I know this is going to be a sweeping statement and very controversial, but I can't lie to you, mate. I think this government's been weak, very weak. Boris has dithered. He's been weak. He's not made sense. The speech he gave yesterday, all I'm hearing is we could, we would, we should, we might. You know, to me, that's not good enough, right? I want to know what's going on. You know, this lockdown, to me, Dan, I've said it on our stream, you know, the other day, called on the Bouncer stream, right? That, you know, for me, in my opinion, lockdown ended weeks ago. You know, when I've been out, you know, going Tesco's or whatever, or sometimes if I'm that bored, I'll go out for a drive just to get out the house. You know, I'll stay in the car, blare some tunes and annoy some people, right? But
Yeah.
you know, the amount of traffic on the road. You know what I mean? You know, I drive past the park and it's rammed. Yeah, lockdown for me ended ages ago, and if, in my honest opinion, I don't even think we had a proper lockdown. Now that's partly a lot of people's fault who have ignored it and gone out, you know, and basically given Boris a big fu. Yeah, but also for me, I look at the government and I think, you know, Boris should have been a lot more harsh. He should have come out and said, we are now going into lockdown. What that means is anyone leaving their house, instant fine, possible imprisonment. Yeah, if you're going to the shops, you know, to get some food and stuff, you know, that's fine, right? But people in the parks, all we're seeing is police saying, excuse me, could you please leave and go back home? For me, that's soft. That's soft. What kid is going to listen to that?
That sums up our police force or our police.
Exactly.
It's just, come on, mate. The time to move on. Let's go home now. Like, what a load of bollocks that is. You know,
that's
come
what
on.
I'm saying. That's what I'm saying. You know, and like, you know, and this is what I'm saying. But it's like, for me, it just smacks of weak. I look at Germany, right, and I look at how they've dealt with it. Very professional. You know, thorough. You know what I mean? You know, they, you know, you can tell the people respect their government over there, right? We don't respect ours over here. And there's a large part of me that can see why we don't respect it, because Boris talks. I don't even think Boris knows any more than what we do. I think the man's clueless, right? Not so much, I'm not saying a lot of that's his fault. You know, we're experiencing something that we've never, ever experienced before, right? But he differs for me. He differs too much, right? This country takes the piss. Right, there is a reason why Brits are hated abroad. There is a reason why.
Yeah.
All right, and it's examples like this. It's things like this where we're told something. All we've got to do, Daniel, is stay indoors. Right, we're not being asked to go to war. Right, we're being told to stay indoors, and we can't even do that. Come on, you know. And I've always said, you know, people will take the same people in the parks ignoring all of this are the same people who are clapping the NHS on a Thursday, which for me is absolutely two-faced.
Yeah,
right?
I agree with you, Diesel. I absolutely agree with you. See, I'm a little bit mixed on this whole thing, because whilst I agree with you that the government are fucked up from day one, and I don't necessarily think they fucked up in the sense that you know, what they've done is set unrealistic targets, and I think that's part of the biggest problem. So when you got the health secretary Matt Hancock coming out and saying that we want 100,000 tests a day by the end of April, when he come out and said that, we were only testing 13,000 people, and I'm thinking, you're setting yourself up to fail. Don't promise that unless you are dead certain that that's going to happen. And as for Boris Johnson, listen, yesterday, I get that it was vague. I completely understand that. Listen, I watched it and I was like, yeah, he's being a bit vague. But, you know, there's people out there that have gone to the extreme. So, like, I've seen loads of people today saying, oh, so what are we meant to do? Are we meant to go back to work or not to work? And he's like, well, you know, yeah, he said go back to work if you can't work from home, which is self-explanatory. And then he's saying, you know, okay, you can go to the park. You know, you can drive to the park and you can drive to other areas. Well, people have gone, all right then, so does that mean I can drive from Yorkshire down to Devon? And I'm like, just use your fucking common sense. Do you know what I mean? Like, he's not saying that at all. You're interpreting it that way. He's saying drive to your local areas to, you know, to the parks or to the. He doesn't mean say drive from opposite ends of the country. Now, yes, he's not stated that, but does he have to state every little detail for this country to get it? I mean, half of it is common sense.
No, yeah, but see, this is where I'm going to say something very controversial again, right? We are not a country, right, who have got a lot of people who have common sense, Daniel. You know, you've only got to look at all the pictures that go around about, you know, the parks and stuff. Listen, as soon as it's nice weather, as soon as there's a little bit of sun, people are out. I've seen pictures, right, of beaches, beaches that are packed, right? Because it's a little bit of sunshine and everyone wants to go and get a tan, just like me, right? Yeah. But what I'm saying is, you know, on the one hand, you're sort of saying, you know, it's common sense. Why should Boris shouldn't really have to come out and basically give it in layman's terms? My argument is, if he needs to, because judging on what we've seen over the past couple of months, where, you know, it's not been a proper lockdown in this country. That's one thing I will say, right? You know, and because of Boris isn't stupid, he must see these pictures. He must see the, you know, the parks being rammed, the beaches being packed, right? And for me, all the more reason, right? This weekend just gone, right? Bank holiday weekend, it was rammed. You know, there was traffic on this, you know, there was traffic everywhere you look. It is not a lockdown. All the more reason for him to have come out and said, you know, he's got to tell it in layman's terms, and he also needs to set a precedent, right? You know, to basically say, these are the rules. If we find people who are not, you know, adhering to the rules, this is your punishment, right? You know, make people think. Because
see, I agree with you, Diesel. Right, I agree with you that, you know, listen, I'm not Boris's biggest fan, and nor will I ever be Boris's biggest fan. Simply because I'm not a conservative government. Listen, I never wanted him in the first place. But the issue I've got is that people are blaming Boris for other people's stupidity. It's not Boris's fault that our country is full of fuckwits. Let's put it bluntly. Our country is full of fuckwits. And while I agree that Boris should have been more clearer and he should have been, you know, maybe should have been more clearer, but on the other hand, people should be a lot more sensible than what they are being. And that is not Boris's fault, you know. And the only thing I agree with Boris on this, in this situation, is that there is no risk-free strategy. There's no risk-free strategy in whatever you do. You know, we've seen it with like Germany and that. Yes, they've got 1/4 of deaths, and they've handled it better, in my opinion, than what we have. But there's always going to be people that are going to get the virus. This virus is, you know, is in the world now. It's not going away. And the one thing I will say is that we're either in lockdown forever, because listen, let's be honest with you, it's going to take 2 years to find a vaccine. And I seen something today that the government is saying. So Boris set out this 50-page document, and Sky News basically outlined the 50-page document. And what he was saying was that you know, we're hoping that we can find a vaccine, but we might never find a vaccine for this virus. And then what do? Do you still keep places in lockdown, which is going to shatter the economy? And whilst protecting lives is the most important thing, and listen, that should be our number one priority, you've also got to then protect the economy, because there are going to be businesses that are going to go out of business with this lockdown. So we either stay in lockdown or we learn to live with this virus. And if that means having to make some changes when we do, when society is fully reopened, if that means that we've got to make some changes, then so be it. Because listen, let's be honest with you, right? When there's when society opens for you know, fully, you know, say in all the pubs and everything, there's going to be a new normal. We're not going to go back to the way things were before this virus came along. It's going to be a new normal. We are going to see social distancing. We are, you know, that's going to be the new normal. So I do agree to an extent with Boris that you've got to start moving things along gradually and slowly, because what's going to happen is we're going to end up being in lockdown forever. And listen, I can tell you something now, Diesel, that if they stay in lockdown, and like you said, we've not really had a lockdown like other countries, but the risks of being in lockdown and staying in lockdown for a long time is that before long, there's going to be social unrest. So then, on top of the NHS trying to cope, you're going to have people, people committing crimes and targeting the elderly and vulnerable, which is already happening, but on a bigger scale, and then people kicking off and to be quite honest with you, that country, if that happens, our country's going to go into utter meltdown. So you've got to balance it by keeping people safe, which is the number one priority, but getting the economy moving again. Because at the moment we're in this status quo. Nobody seems to know what the fuck they're doing, from the government down to the public, and it is chaos, mate. It is chaos. The only thing I will disagree with Boris on is that not having quarantine from airports. So people have been allowed to fly into this country and just walk straight into society. And it's only now that he's brought in, oh yeah, you've got to have 14 days quarantine before you get let into the country. That should have been the number one thing to come in my opinion, even before the lockdown.
Yeah. See, the thing is, right, this is one thing, if I'm honest, and I love you to bits, Dan, right, but I totally disagree with you on that, because I do think it is Boris's fault, right? And now let me make the case, right? It's the same as football, yeah, right? If Arsenal, right, are losing games game after game, right, and we know it's not so much Arteta, it's because it's because of these deadbeat players that we've got, right? In my opinion, yeah, same as under Emery, right? Emery played a part, but I think my view is the majority of the majority of blame laid with the players, because in my opinion they just down tools, right? And so that's something I don't agree with, regardless of who the manager is.
Yeah,
right?
I agree,
we're not getting rid of the players. It's always the manager who always goes. You know why? Because it's under his watch, right? Irrespective of whether we think it's his fault or not, it's under his watch, right? So therefore, in the end, it's him who gets sacked and he's got to go. And I look at the government as the exact same thing, right? Yes, a lot of the idiots out there who are still going out and partying and going to parks and beaches and all that sort of stuff, right? Yes, they are to blame, but this is under Boris's watch, Dan. And the way I look at it, he wanted that job, right? He's done a lot of money, right? But that job comes with responsibilities, yeah. It's under his watch, right? And that's how I look at it. Yeah, if you want the job, these are the positives of it. A lot of money, blah blah. You are the number one man, but also these are your responsibilities, and these are the pitfalls of the job, and this is what comes with it. He agreed to take that on, right? He agreed to take that on. You know what I mean? So in my view, right, he's been weak from the start. He should have implemented a strict, and I mean a strict, lockdown, right? Because it's no surprise that we now have the highest number of deaths in this country, right? And yet we've had the weakest lockdown. Right, think about that.
Right.
Do you know what I'm saying? Right, the two are in tandem with each other. Yeah. Right, there is no surprise, right, that we've got as a country, we've been the most lax, right, when it comes to a lockdown. It was a poor excuse of a lockdown. There were pictures on Twitter, going around of military, army on the streets, tankers and stuff like that, right? What happened there? Where's that gone? Right, if need be, that's what we should have implemented. That's what we because there's too many people taking the piss. Not only are they taking the piss, they're taking pictures of themselves in the parks, putting it on social media as if it's their way of saying, "F you, Boris, I'm going out," or "I'm with the lads." I'm playing football. I'm on the beach. It's disgusting, mate. It's disgusting. And I, if I'm honest, I do blame Boris, because 600 people a day are still dying, right? Now, I reckon a lot of those people, not every single one, but a lot of those people, right, their deaths could have been spared if he'd done the correct thing, right, at the start. And what I mean by that is implement a strict lockdown. And should you break that lockdown, so be it. You are in trouble, right? Massive fine, imprisonment. Not talking and asking them nicely, "Excuse me, could you go back home?" No, if you're caught, you're in prison, mate. Right, or you get a massive fine. The kind of disciplinary action that you'd think twice, thinking, "I want to go out today, but if I get caught, sod that. No, do you know what? I'm going to stay in because I don't want to go to prison, and I don't want no £2,000 fine." Right? If you're caught, instant fine, right? In Spain, it's like that. It's like that in Spain. You know, you're caught outside your house, right? Ain't no friendly chat from a policeman. You'll get an instant fine, and it's a lot of money, right? And if you do that once, trust me, Daniel, right, you ain't breaking that again. Do you know what I'm saying?
No, I agree. I agree.
So
Listen, I'm not Boris's biggest fan. Like, I think that there's a lot wrong with the guy, but the thing I worry about is he is being made a scapegoat for other people's mistakes. Now, personally, I think he's done a lot wrong in this. I absolutely agree with you that, you know, he's done a lot wrong. I think whether partly, you know, he obviously he had the virus himself, so he's not even taking the daily news conferences, which is, in my opinion, now that he's fighting fit again, he should be forefront and center of those conferences, whether or not, whether you think that or not, but he should be, in my opinion, front and center of those conferences. Now he's better again, and it's clear to see that he is on the mend, and he's recovered from the virus. But I also think,
or did he have it? You know, that's the other thing, isn't it? That a lot of people are saying. You know, there's a little bit of a conspiracy, as if to say, did he genuinely have it? Now, I'm not saying he did or he didn't, but what I'm saying is, you know, when a lot of people start saying that, and then they say, you know, did he have it because of A, B, and C? It does sort of make it look. I'm a very open-minded person, right? You know,
I think he did have it, because listen, you look at the videos when he put out before, he looked sick, man. He looked proper ill, you know, like. And listen, it's a dangerous game to start saying did he have it, especially in this current situation, because do you know what? There's a lot of people out there that might think that it was all a bit of a scandal, but it would be, I don't know. Listen, you've got to be careful, ain't you? In assuming that. Now, I actually think though, but Diesel, I think, right, people need to be looking at these scientists, because so Boris all along and the government have stated that they're following the scientific advice. What fucking scientific advice where are they getting it from? And why are our scientists giving out different advice to what other scientists around the world are giving?
Do you know what? Right, you are bang on, absolutely bang on, because I don't think the government are listening to the scientists, right? The whole thing of it, Dan, right, you know, in my opinion, there's an even bigger thing, right, than this. It all comes down to money, right? It's money, you know. It's the whole reason why. I mean, I've seen some articles of German scientists saying, the UK, what are you doing? You know, if you do this, you know, you're going to get a second spike. Why don't you do what we did? Because we went through the right protocol, and because of that, we're more or less out of this thing. You know, you guys over there, you know, you're nowhere close. And then on the other hand, you're hearing Boris and the government saying, you know, the deaths are down. You know, from June the 1st, we're going to start to open more this, more that. And I'm looking at it, I'm thinking, you know, even the Premier League, you know, there was a scientist who came out and said, you know, you can't start the football. You know, you're nowhere near out of it yet. Do you know what I'm saying? And it's like, who do you listen to? Who do you believe? You know, me personally, you know, if I had to pick one, then I'm going with the scientists. I'm going with the people who have experienced it firsthand, seen it up front, right?
Yeah.
Take the relative action and are on the way out, you know, on the way to beating it. I'll believe him, that man or woman, any day of the week over, in my opinion, this weak government.
Because they were saying as well that in order for, you know, say like bars and everything to reopen, they want so at the moment the daily tests, we're getting 16,000 positive cases a day. Yeah. Which is dropped considerably from 100,000 positive positive cases. So that's people who have been confirmed as positive who've got the virus, and they want it down to 4,000 before they start opening. So 4,000 positive tests a day is what they want it at before they start opening stuff up for good, you know, like really properly easing the lockdown.
Yeah.
And it's, listen, but you just touching on the football, and we'll move on to that subject. Just quickly before we move on to that subject, everyone smash a like on this video and subscribe if you are new. I'm not entirely sure how many likes I've got at the moment.
Right, so we've got that's not bad. We've got 19 likes and we've got 20
19 likes. 19 likes and 20 people watching. So yeah, come on everybody, smash a like.
Daniel, sorry mate, very quickly, can I just say, I saw a comment here earlier on. I've been done.
Yeah, no worries. Yeah, well, let's get into some chats here. Let's get into some chats and then we'll talk about the
Liam Damon. Liam Damon said, I lost my dad 1 year ago and mental health is a massive part of my life I never had before. So yeah, just obviously on my behalf, Liam, apologies to hear that, mate, and I hope you're well.
Yeah, and same, Liam. Listen, I hope you're well, mate. Listen, and a lot of people, it does, mental health doesn't, you don't just, it's not hereditary, so you can get it at any time. It's not just because you have a good childhood and that. Listen, I had the perfect childhood, but certain things happened in my 20s, which so mental health is not, you're not born with it. You don't, you're not one of those people, you either have it or you don't. Listen, you can get it at any time, so it's, listen, I hope that listen, stay safe, and I hope you're well, mate.
Yeah, exactly. No, well said, mate. Kevin Mark, hope you're well, Kev. Nice words from Daniel. It's great to hear how positive Daniel it is in this turbulent times. So I think that's earlier, Dan, when we was talking about obviously trials and stuff like that.
Yeah, thanks, Kevin. Listen, I hope you're well, mate, too. I hope you're keeping well.
Grant McRoberts, Daniel and Diesel, I'm a big admirer of karma. People that abuse people with disabilities or whatever will be the ones that had something happen to them. Yeah.
Exactly. Do you know what? You're right there. Listen, karma. Yeah. Karma's a bitch, and when you least expect it, listen, I'm a big believer in karma as well. I believe that karma will, get people.
Exactly. I'm Aguna Terry, my fellow bouncer, and my brother, more importantly, got to go get ready for our show tonight, guys. Hope you all tune in. Great show, Daniel and Diesel. See you all soon.
Cheers. Thanks, Terry. And
nice one,
just tell everyone about the show that you've got going on there.
Yeah, so I think it's at 7:30 tonight. So we do a premiere review show. We're doing it every Monday. We did it last week. We had Craig from the Anfield Agenda on, top bloke, really nice guy, and Sophie from the hairdryer treatment. Sophie's a Man United fan, top girl, really nice girl. And we also had Lee, what's his name? Leicester, the Jamie Vardy lookalike. Leicester fan. He come Lee Chappie, sorry, he come on as well. It was brilliant. And tonight we've got Man City fan TV on. Who else we got on? We got Dom from West Ham fan TV, and we got someone else, I believe. I can't remember who it is, if I'm honest. But yeah, so yeah, we're going to do that. So basically, all it is, Dan, we just have people from other channels, other clubs. Oh, that's it. Sorry, Emma Coney Bear. She's coming on. She's from Watford. She's a Watford fan. I think she's got a Watford channel, so she's coming on as well. And then we'll mix and match it. Every Monday we'll have obviously different people from other channels, other rival clubs, just talking football.
Yeah, that's not bad. Yeah, so everybody check that out tonight. I'll certainly be watching.
And then I think after that I'm on myself and Claude. We're on Craig's channel, Anfield Agenda. So yeah, we're going on that straight after. So yeah, it's quite a busy day, Dan, isn't it? A busy day, mate.
Yeah, it's a busy day, mate. Listen, lots of good streams coming your way, guys. So obviously I kicked things off this afternoon with this one. Diesel, let's talk a bit about the Premier League, because they're obviously having a series of meetings this week.
Yeah.
They're set to unveil they're trying to get back, by June. They're trying to get the season up and running again by June. Now, before the stream went live, I did see in that 50-page document that the government set out, or that Boris set out, he did say that sports can return from the 1st of June behind closed doors. So, which the Premier League probably would have looked at that. And what do you make of it? What do you make of that?
I think it's wrong. Pure and simple, mate. I think it's wrong. Listen, I was on a stream yesterday. I was on Gunnar Eagle Eye, right? Chig, another top bloke, right? Was on his channel with his him and Ola, and we was asked the same question there, and I said the same thing I'm going to say now. I think it's wrong. When there's 600 people a day still dying, Dan, and when they're talking about a lack of resources, testing and stuff like that for our key workers, NHS staff, and and when we say key workers, we bang on about the NHS, and rightly so, but we don't even. But no one really talks about the staff in the supermarkets, the Tesco's, the Sainsbury's, the Asda's, right? They're also key workers. They're also risking their lives daily, right, in order to serve us, right, so we can go to the shops and get our shopping. Yeah, they're just as important for me as the NHS, right? In the fact that they're going out there every day, still risking their lives, right, working, which enables us to go shopping and get our food. Yeah. So, but when they're talking about a lack of resources, and then you're hearing about football players getting tested twice a week, right? For me, that don't sit right. So in my opinion, footballers, and I've always said this, right? Take away their wallet, yeah, they are no different to us, right? Yeah, they're human beings the same as us, right? They bleed the same as us, right? They are, no different. So why are they so privileged that they can be tested twice a week, and yet we're hearing about a lack of resources and testing for NHS staff, right? All of which are working these long shifts, right? Putting their lives on the line in order to protect us, and they can't get a test, and yet a footballer can get one. Was it 2 tests in a week? And we're talking about a lot of players here. That's a lot. That's a lot of tests. A lot of testing. For me, it's wrong, right? Also, if we put the games on, Dan, and it's behind closed doors as well, you're still going to need ambulance crew there. You're still going to need nurses, doctors, in case of injuries and stuff like that. So you're taking these doctors and nurses away from the hospitals where they should be, just in order to, oversee and facilitate a football match, right? For me, that's wrong. It's wrong, but it's what I come back to it again. It's all about money. That's it. It's all about money. Money's more important, right? Than lives. Well, not in my book, it ain't. Nothing beats lives. Nothing is more important than lives. Not even money. You know what I'm saying? So if it does go ahead, I think it will go ahead, because I think in the end, money's going to win.
But Diesel? Is there ever a right time to bring it back?
Yes, it's the right time, Dan. When I tell you, do you know what? You say that the wrong time is when we've still got 600 people a day dying. Yeah, the right time is when there's no one dying.
I understand, and listen, I agree with what you're saying, but I'm also of the opinion that there's never going to be a right time. There's never, we could wait, right, until all the deaths drop, and this is just me, throwing this out there, because listen, you make some great points, but there's never going to be a right time. There's never ever going to be a right time. It's like with easing the lockdown and maybe coming in, there's never ever going to be a right time, because if we're being honest with ourselves, this virus is here and it's here to stay. So I'm of the opinion we either halt society, or we learn to live with it gradually but slowly. We've got to start learning to live with it. And listen, take nothing away from the deaths, because listen, the deaths, every death is absolutely tragic, and I wouldn't wish that on anybody, not even my worst enemies. You know, death, any death in society is bad, but there are deaths of other viruses like influenza and swine flu, and they don't get reported on. It's only the deaths of coronavirus that at the moment is getting reported. And there are a lot more deaths from other illnesses and viruses and that are being ignored. And I don't want people to get carried away and think that I'm down it. I'm putting a, you know, I'm putting a, making light of it, because I really am not. But there's gonna come a point, Diesel, and where you have to start balancing it a little bit in terms of trying to get the economy moving. Even if you do it slowly, just start getting it moving again and getting, you know, getting some sense of normality. Yes, it's going to be the new normal, and yes, there's, you know, there's going to be lots of changes, and we're going to have to adjust, you know, and it's the same with footballers. Listen, you know, the Bundesliga's returned. Yes, I know that they're in a lot better state than we are, but there's still an element of risk, and there's always going to be an element of risk, no matter how many deaths there are.
No,
there's going to be an element of risk.
I get that, Daniel, right? I do get that. But what I'm saying is, what is the problem with eliminating the risk as much as possible, right? Eliminating it, because we're nowhere near out of this yet. I'm not saying I don't ever want football to come back, because there's always going to be an element of risk. Of course there is. I get that, right? But there's a big difference between 10, 15 people a day dying from this COVID-19 than at the moment where there's 600 people, right? You know, I miss football more than anyone, right? You know, I can't wait for it to come back, right? But what doesn't sit right with me is when we've been told that there's a constant lack of resources, you know, for testing kits and masks and all that sort of stuff, and yet footballers are going to be handed it on the plate twice a week. It doesn't sit right with me. I'm sorry, you know, you can't have a nurse who's breaking her back, right? And doctors, you know, who are, you know, putting, you know, their lives on the line daily to look after us, and yet they can't get their hands on something that footballers are going to be getting their hands on twice a week. It doesn't sit right. It's not right.
No, I agree with I agree with you, Diesel. I agree with you. The problem that listen, I think football maybe should, you know, listen, that they are going to come back. It is going to come back. There's no questions about that. It's going to come back. Whether it's right or wrong, listen, everybody's going to have a difference of opinion on it, and it depends on, you know, what you deem is safe. Because in my opinion as well, we're never going to get to a point where there's only 15 deaths a day. I don't think we're ever going to get to that point. I think we've gone too far for that to ever happen. In my opinion, I think we've gone too far. You know, if we'd have done things differently from the start, I think it might have been possible. But I think now we've gone too far. Although the deaths are dropping, and they are dropping, and, you know, they're probably, you know, we're probably going to have a second spike if people don't take notice and heed the advices that the government are giving out. You know, yes, they've been sluggish in dealing with this. I agree with that, but everybody has their own mind. Whilst I agree with you, Diesel, that the government have been sluggish, everyone has their own mind. Everybody, because here's my thing, right? So the government is saying you can go into parks, right? But that doesn't mean to say if you don't want to, you don't have to. Just because the government is saying you can do that, you don't have to do that. You can say, well, listen, I don't think it's safe at the moment. I'm not going to. That's what I'm saying to you. Everybody seems to be following the government. And it's, you know, I'll get back onto the football thing at the moment, but everybody seems to be following the government, you know, as if it's gospel that they've got to do that, but they don't have to. They don't have to. Listen, when before this lockdown ever happened, you had your freedoms, right? So you could choose to go to the pub. You could choose to go. Yes, you had that choice, and now at the moment you don't have that choice, but you've still got that choice. So essentially the parks are open. You don't have to do that if you don't want to. And I've seen a lot of people that don't want to do it, taking it as that, oh, so now we've got to do it. I've seen a lot of people on Facebook misinterpret stuff.
Yeah, I get that. It's misinterpreting it, but then when it's because, Dan, if I'm honest, you know, my opinion, I don't think he's being that clear. I really don't. And do you know what?
Listen, I agree with you, Diesel. I don't think he's been clear enough.
No, there's a lot of people, right, who are, if I'm honest, you know, they need it said to them in layman's terms, right? You know, in literally, you know, pure English, right? They need it said because we've got a lot of people in this country, Dan, who just aren't educated, mate. You know, it's as simple as that.
Yeah.
Everyone's different, right? What I feel sorry for, what I'm sick and tired of seeing all the time is these celebrities, right, crying their eyes out on Instagram or on Twitter, you know, because they're in lockdown and they're lonely in their mansions, right? And I made a comment on our channel right in the other week saying I feel sorry for the families, you know, parents who have got 6, 7 kids who are being forced to, you know, who are living in a 2-bed flat, right? For example, you know, overcrowded, who can't go out, single mothers, you know, who have got loads of kids. You know what I mean? And obviously their only bit of escapism is when those kids go to school, you know, domestic abuse, even child abuse, you know.
Yeah, but do you know what it is? Do you know what it is, Diesel? Do you know what it is, Diesel, right? With those mothers who have got about 5 kids and who are complaining that the only break they get is when they go to school. Well, maybe you should have thought about that before you laid on your back and had those kids. Do you know what I mean? That's just my opinion. Do you know what I mean? If you don't want the responsibility of having those kids, then don't have them. Do you know what I mean? That's
yeah.
I get we're in unprecedented times, but mothers moaning that they've got kids and they don't get a break. Well, if you can't hack it and you weren't able to hack it, then maybe, you know, you should use protection before you had all those kids. That's just my opinion. Do you know what I mean?
Oh yeah. I suppose, you know, in hindsight, I mean, you know, you could look at that, but, you know, irrelevant to that, I just think if there's, you know, when you get a lot of people, you know, in overcrowded flats or houses or whatever, people who haven't got a lot of money, and obviously, you know, I can understand why, if, you know, there are, I mean, I know of, you know, some people, Dan, who just can't stay in, you know, because obviously, you know, from a mental health point of view, they will go mad. You know, they have to go out, even if it is to a park or a walk around the block or whatever it is, just get out. I totally get that. Right? I do get that. But, you know, we're quite privileged. You know, there are people out there who don't have that option. You know, not everyone drives a car. You know what I'm saying? Not everyone, you know, can go out. You know, there could be kids with ADHD or any form of disability who you know what I mean? Who escapism is to go to school or to, you know, whatever it may be, right? Everyone's different. Everyone's got their own different stuff going on. You know what I'm saying? And I just think it's, you know, Boris, for me, he should have been a proper lockdown from the start. All I'm saying is, my personal view is, if he'd have done it properly from the start, I think he could have spared a lot of deaths. Right? Because you just said it, Daniel. Just now, you just said, I think we're too far gone, right, for it to be 10 to 15 a day. Right now, my question to you is, if we're too far gone for that, that tells me that what you're trying to say, Dan, is we didn't do things properly. So because we didn't do things properly, it's got to a stage now where we're far beyond that. So
I agree.
My thing for you is, if we had done it properly in the beginning, who does that fall down to? Boris.
Listen, you're right. But not just Boris, the scientists as well. Because, listen, these scientists, I know Boris, listen, he's the Prime Minister and he has the overriding say. But some of these scientists, I tell you, they need to start getting in the real world. And when you've got, who's that guy? What's his name? Chris Whitty or whatever his name is, or Sir Patrick Balance. Those guys remind me of, they're like, they just sound like drugged up Chuckle Brothers to me. Do you know what I mean? Who don't have a fucking clue as to what they're doing. Do you know what I'm saying? Like they just sit there and they're like, "Oh, all the advice we're giving you is to stay at home." Yeah, well, that's not really answering the question, is it? So when you've got people, when you've got members of the media, and quite frankly, some of the questions from the media could be a little bit better as well. You know, when you've got people like these media going, "All right, so how are you going to achieve this target of 100 tests?" Oh, the advice is to stay at home. No, that's not really answering the question. That's just a generic answer that you're spouting out. Do you know what I'm saying? Like,
Yeah, that's it, mate. That's it.
and the only listen, I'm not Piers Morgan's biggest fan, but the only person who is
I love Piers Morgan.
listen, I like him. I like him in certain
See,
but
this is what yeah, go on.
he is right. He is the only one who has the bollocks to call these
Thank
people
you.
out, and that's what I was trying to say. Listen, I don't agree with everything he says, you know, but when it comes to this pandemic, he is the only one that's got a pair to go. Actually, you guys are fucked up. You guys need to sort. And it's funny how right that everybody who goes on, you know, everybody was going on Good Morning Britain, you know, like you know, all these cabinet ministers.
Yeah.
And when they start getting difficult questions, Boris is turn around and going, "Oh, none of our cabinet ministers are allowed on Good Morning Britain anymore." Cowardice, absolutely fucking cowards, the lot of them, mate. Do you know what I mean? Yeah.
Dan, do you know what? Right, I mentioned this on our stream. I gave Piers Morgan a big up, right, because this is what I don't get. Right, Piers, he gets a lot of hate. Right, he's very controversial. Don't get me wrong, I know he is. But I love the bloke, and I'll tell you why. Right, two reasons. Number one, he is an Arsenal fan, proper, right,
Yeah.
proper Arsenal fan. Right, goes to every home game. Second of all, right, what Piers Morgan is saying on Twitter, right, what he's saying is what we're all thinking and saying, right? The difference is Piers Morgan's got a voice. He's got a massive following and he's got a voice, right? So all the things, right? He's like our spokesperson, right? And he has called the government out on a couple of things, right? To which, right, they've buckled under the pressure, and in the end, they've started doing certain things purely because Piers Morgan has come out and challenged them, right? And do you know what? For that, how anyone can slow Piers Morgan again, right? Because Piers Morgan ain't doing it for him, right? Do you know what I'm saying? He's speaking on behalf of all of us who want answers.
So there was a thing
this
morning, Diesel. I don't know whether you've seen it, and it popped up in my YouTube feed, because I watch a lot of the Good Morning Britain stuff, you know, when it comes up on YouTube. But there was a video where he was interviewing the Leicester MP, and it's only, I think it only happened today because it only came up today. But he was saying to the Leicester MP, he was going, so, you know, because the Leicester MP was sort of challenging him on, you know, he was saying, "Oh, you're just got a load of diatribe, you know, you've got an agenda against the government." And he said to the Leicester MP, "Are you social?" Because the Leicester MP implied that he was socializing with people in Tesco's, in the supermarkets at social distance. So he said to this guy, I can't remember his name, but he's saying, "So are you telling me that I can go and socialize with my sons as long as it's a 2 meter rule?" And the MP turned around and said, "Well, I don't see a problem with that." And then Piers come back with, "So now you're just telling me to do something that is completely against the rules which the government have said." And he had that MP up in knots, mate. I tell you, he had the MP up in, he had him up in knots, mate. Absolutely up in knots.
Exactly, Dan. This is what I'm saying. This is why I love Piers Morgan, because right, he's not. What do you know? How many times, right? Guys in the chat, you guys watching this, right?
Yeah.
Tell me, please, how many times, right, do we watch, for example, a game and we watch a pundit and they're so flip-floppy, right? You know, they don't tell it how it is. Piers Morgan is someone who tells you how it is, right? He doesn't care whether he's hated or not. He calls it as he sees it. Piers Morgan is saying the same things that we're all saying, right? The difference is Piers Morgan gets answers, we don't. He gets answers, right, because he's very high profile, massive following, and he's got a big voice, right? and
Yeah.
he's getting answers that we should have got ages ago. How anyone can knock Piers Morgan for that? I'm sorry, you know.
I mean, I agree. I listen.
I love the bloke.
I think he's handled this pandemic brilliantly. Listen, some of the stuff,
Yeah.
like I said, you know, some of the stuff that he comes out with about other things leave a sour taste in my mouth. But listen, I do like him. I think he's a great guy. I don't agree with everything that he says, but where this pandemic's concerned, he is bang on the money.
Oh, he's bang
Do you know
on,
what I mean?
bang on,
Bang on the money. Diesel, I want to ask you, right?
You got, mate.
So going back to this football thing, because we sort of went off topic, but listen, that's the beauty of live streaming and when you get to chatting. So listen, the Premier League is going to return, right?
Yeah.
Let's say it returns. Now, one of the things that's being proposed is the neutral venues. Where do you stand on that? Because certain clubs are opposing it, like Brighton and West Ham and clubs in relegation. Now they're saying that they don't want the neutral venues because it ruins the integrity of the game. But then they've also come out and said that they'll be fine with neutral venues if the relegation is scrapped, which completely undermines their argument, in my opinion, which it doesn't make them look good. You know, so where do you stand on that? Where how you feel about that?
I reckon. Listen, as much as I don't agree with the season starting up again, if it does, it does. Then you know, what I would say is whoever it is who decides. Who's that? The wife? Who's that? The missus, Dan?
No. Oh yeah, she's in the background, mate. Yeah.
I thought a third person had joined us. No.
Yeah. Suzanne, you're coming out on the stream.
Suzanne, how are you?
Yeah.
Big up, Suzanne.
Everyone. Yeah, big up Suzanne. Yeah, big up the wife. Yeah.
Big up the missus.
Big up the missus.
You know what I mean? He probably knows more about Arsenal, right, than what me and you do. But I'm just going to say, look, if it, as much as I'm against it, if it starts up, it starts up, right? What the FA need to do, right? Because I've heard that as well.
Yeah.
Venues. The FA at a time like this, in something very unprecedented and something we've never been through before, they need to grow a pair of bollocks, right, and basically say, look, this is to all the clubs, right? Football's coming back. These are the rules. This is how we're going to do it. Like it or lump it. This is how we're doing it. End of. Right? Got to. You know what I mean? No. There is never going to be a perfect way or a perfect scenario, right? There's always going to be, a club or someone who's going to, disagree. They can't please everyone. What they need to do is find the fairest way, right? The fairest way. Do you know what I'm saying? And stick to it, right? And these clubs have to fall in line with it. You know what I mean? This thing is changing every day. We've never experienced it before. We've never gone through it before, right? But what they need to do, there is no way which is 100% fair for everyone, right? There isn't, right? But what they have to do is find the fairest way, and all clubs need to fall in line. It's as simple as that, right? Now, they have the power to do that. They have the power to do that, right? So rather than trying to keep every club sweet, right? Pick a way, decide on a way in which we're going to do it, and it is non-negotiable. That's what they got to do.
I agree with you. Listen, I agree with you, Diesel. I absolutely agree with you. I agree. Listen, we've been going for over an hour, so what we'll do is we'll take some chats and then we'll wrap up, Diesel, because listen, it's been a great show. It's been fantastic.
Yeah, I've enjoyed it, mate.
Yeah, it's been good, mate, and thanks for coming on. So what we'll do is if you go through the chats and we'll get through some of your chats, we'll answer some of your questions, and then we'll wrap up.
I'm trying to pick some good ones now. Right, so I just want to quickly double check on the likes, right? So we've got 24 likes. Not bad at all.
Not bad, mate. So come on, anyone who's not liked, smash the like, and if you're new, smash the subscribe as well. Which is listen, I want to get to 400, which is my next target, and I'm closing in on 350. So come on, let's let's get those subscribers going up.
Yeah, no, you're getting there, mate. So there's a comment from Kevin Mark. Yeah, I agree. I think the government is rushing things. It should be done in phases, and football should be the last to be prioritised. Let's get the businesses running before football. Yeah. In my Grant McRoberts, in my country Scotland, we are staying in lockdown for 3 more weeks, as Nicola Sturgeon knows it's too early.
Yeah, do you know what? Right, I sort of agree with Nicola Sturgeon as well, because she's come out, and she's been the only one that's come out and actually gone, well, do you know what? I ain't bringing my public out of lockdown. My message is clear, not stay alert. Because that's the other thing, Diesel. How do you stay alert to an invisible killer? Do you know what I mean?
How can you protect yourself against something you can't see, right? And
that's what I mean.
Right, people who have
listen, mate. I put up with that all my life, but do you know what I mean? You guys are experiencing it now. Do you know what I mean?
Exactly. That's what I'm saying, mate. We're experiencing, right? Yeah. What you do now, do you know what I mean? And that's what I'm saying. Do you know what? Do you know what? That Nicola Sturgeon, right? I'll give her a big up as well, because she's not following the crowd, right? She's not doing it to obviously wind her people up over there. She's doing it, right, because she genuinely thinks, right, she can save more lives, right? If lockdown means another 3 weeks of boredom, right, but it saves lives in the long run and they're going to come out of it stronger, then do you know what, Nicola, you do what you got to do, darling. Do you know what I'm saying? I totally agree with her. Totally agree with her. She's not taking any chances then, right? She's not, falling under the pressure of, people want to go out, people are bored, and no, what she says goes, So she's basically said, Boris, you do your thing. I'm not going to follow you. I'm doing what I think is best over here. For my people. I totally agree with that, right? Totally agree. Liam Damon, thank you, Diesel and Dan. So that's obviously the comment he said earlier. Zidane, big up Diesel. Zidane, my guy, hope you're well, mate. What's this? I believe, right, your boy, YN0T. Oh, your boy, why not? I believe everyone is behind in science, and the London runs on the financial market, Canary Wharf Stock Exchange. And in my opinion, if that closes, UK shutdown, that's why UK hasn't implemented a stringent lockdown. All to do with money. It's as simple as that.
Yeah, money, mate. Money talks, not blooming sense.
Exactly, mate. Money don't talk, it shouts. Jahed, big yourself up, mate. Hope you're well. Kevin Mark, Diesel, my apologies, mate. I couldn't see much of your streams live as the time differences is massive. 8 hours in where I am. I'm however, watching everything on playback. Just keep the content going, bro. Kev, much appreciated, mate. I think you're in Malaysia, aren't you? So, yeah, not exactly down the road, mate. So, yeah, I'll let you.
Listen, Kev, listen.
There's a lot of small chat in here. Just trying to find a good one. Kevin Mark again. Oh, that's great, Sam. Football should be the least of priorities right now. Yeah.
It's
Daniel, here's a good one. So, Jahed, Daniel, what do you think of the swap deal with Aubameyang and Icardi? Or as Terry would say, Aubameyang. Do
you know what, right? I would take it simply because he's younger. Yes, I know he comes with a lot of baggage, but he's younger. And listen, if Aubameyang's not going to sign, what do? Do you let his contract run down and let him walk out the door for free, or do you swap him for a player that probably has a little bit more shelf life? And I would be inclined for the swap. If that's the only option and he's not going to sign, then listen, we've got to do what's best for the club, not what's best for the player.
Exactly.
Because so long we've done what's best for the player and not what's best for the club. So now it's time to start doing what's best for the club and not the players.
Exactly. Where do you stand though, Dan, on that? Because obviously that was on the stream yesterday with Chig and Ola. it was we spoke about obviously what our stance is on whether we should allow Aubameyang to stay for another year and then he walk out the club for free, or do we cash in now, all provided he doesn't want to sign. What's your take on that?
Do you know what, right? I would, if he's not going to sign the contract, we should swap him this summer. Listen, I know we lose a lot of his goals, but listen, I don't want to see another world-class player walk out the door for free.
Yeah.
And I think, listen, as much as we are going to lose his goals, I think we need to make a statement that actually, if you're not going to sign and you're not serious and you're not committed to Arsenal, then you've got to go. Listen, Arteta the other week summed it up brilliantly when he said, if I've got to convince a player to stay or I've got to convince a player to join, then they're not right for this club. Because if you have to be convinced of either of those things and you don't know what Arsenal's about, then you're not right for this club and not right for this project. And I am bang on, agree with what he said. What he said was top quality. And do you know what? If they put that into practice, and that is the case, then listen, I think going forward, our future's bright. You know what I mean? Listen, because we can't have another situation with a player walking out for nothing. And Arteta's right. If you've got to be convinced to come to Arsenal, or if you've got to be convinced to stay, then you're not right for the project and you're not right for moving forward. Because if you have to be convinced, then there's an element of doubt in there. And if you've got an element of doubt and not wholeheartedly commit, if you've got an element of doubt, you're not going to be 100% committed. So if you're not 100% committed, then you should leave.
Yeah,
doesn't matter whether you're banging in 30 odd goals or one goal. If you're not 100% committed, then you should leave. Because for too long, Diesel, we've had players who have took the piss out of this club and took the piss out of managers.
Still do.
But that's what I'm saying to you. It's about time we started changing things, and it's about time the club started dictating to players rather than the players dictating to the club.
Yeah, I totally agree. Although listen, what I think we hear so many Arsenal fans who get gassed over the things that Arteta says. If you look at his first press conference and obviously what he said last week, the way he talks for me is absolutely brilliant, right? However, I'm a massive believer in that saying, the proof is in the pudding, right? So, I'm one of them people, Daniel. I believe it when I see it, right? I take nothing away from him because he talks a good game, and I genuinely believe if he's so this is the thing, right? This is what worries me, and it's not just, it could be Arteta or whoever is in charge of this club. I don't know who buys players. I can't imagine. I don't think Willian, all these links with Willian, I don't think he's an Arteta signing. I really don't. So that tells me he's not the one who's buying the players, right? Now, Emery came out and said, I had a short list of 3 players I really wanted, and in the end, we got 3 totally different players, right? So that tells me that the manager is not the one in charge of getting the players, right? So basically, I reckon that whoever it is who's buying them, whether it be Raul or Edu, buying players in and giving it and saying to Arteta, right, your job is to work with that. Arteta's, if that is the case, for me, Arteta is destined to fail. Same as any manager would be, because you're basically telling him to do a job with one arm locked behind his back. It's just not going to happen.
See, I agree with you, Diesel, but I'm of the opinion that Arteta's so intelligent, and you can tell that by the way he talks, that I think he would have gone in there and said, listen, if I'm doing things my way. Otherwise, I'm not coming in. And I think that, do you know what I mean? I think he would have. I don't think Arteta would have come unless he had those assurances, because I don't think Arteta would set himself up to fail.
I totally agree, Dan. But with this pandemic, do you not think it's changed things?
Listen, I think that the board, and I had a rant about this a couple of weeks ago. I think the board will use anything, And I think this pandemic is their perfect excuse to go,
Exactly
do you know what?
right.
We can't afford this money. Because listen, right, I said I would buy what they're saying if this was a one-off. But what's it going to be next year? Oh, we're still suffering the effects of the pandemic. And the year after, oh, because we've had to play the next season behind closed doors, we're short of money. And then the season after that is, oh, we're only just starting to get things back to normal. What was it last year? It was, oh, because we're in the chat, we're not in the Europa, we're in the Europa League, not in the Champions League. Then the season before that is, oh, it's a process, it's going to take time. And that's what I'm saying to you. This board comes up with so many excuses.
Exactly
It's
right.
just
You just said
mad.
there about Arteta being intelligent enough to have wanted assurances of what his role's going to be. And obviously, he take complete control, right? So I ask you this then, right? So all these links with Willian at Chelsea, right? For me, he doesn't look to me like an Arteta signing. Cedric Suarez, a right back who's injured, right?
Yeah.
And even when he was fit, he can't get a game at Southampton. Southampton, then, right? Now I'm asking you this: is he an Arteta signing? Bear in mind where Arteta's come from. He's come from a world-class team working under a world-class manager. He leaves them, comes to us, buys a right back who's injured and can't get a game anyway, right? Buys Mari for what, 5-6 million, a player who's what, 26, 27, and yet no one's heard of him, right? And who's, according to reports, looking at bringing in Willian, who's 31, on a free. Do these players, those three players, do they smack of Arteta signings to you? Because they don't to me.
I'm not so sure about Suarez. Listen, Mari, or I think Arteta. I think he was an Arteta signing. Simply the fact that he's a left-sided central defender, which is what Arteta wanted. So I think he might have had a hand in that. But listen, like I agree with you. They're gonna be the downfall of Arteta if he doesn't put his foot down and say, listen, either you do this or I'm just gonna, I'm gonna fail essentially. Because listen, the board Edu was instrumental in bringing Martinelli in, and he's tore up trees since he's been here. Yeah. So what worries me is that it's not about the players we bring in. Yes, it is, because we've got to bring in the right players. But for me, it's getting our current shit off the wage bill, getting our current,
clearing the decks.
Yeah, starting with Mesut Ozil. Listen, mate, that guy just. I've seen a report coming out today that his agent's saying that he's not been offered a new deal. Well, if that is true, that's music to my ears, mate. Do you know what I mean? But you never know with these agents. They just stir the pot worse than bloody politicians. But I don't know. Listen, I guess only time will tell, wouldn't it? Only time will tell. Now, the one question I do want to ask you is that if we play the Premier League in neutral venues, do you think that will benefit us or hinder us? Because I'm of the opinion that it'll benefit us simply for the fact that our away form is shit. So, listen, we're not used to going to stadiums where where it's a neutral footing. We crumble under pressure, especially with the away fans. So I think going to neutral venue, I think it will benefit us.
Yeah, I think I agree with you. I think it's going to benefit us.
Dan, I know I'm going to come out on your stream. Is it right if I start doing I've got that thing to go on.
Yeah, that's fine.
Dan, big up yourself.
Yeah. Big up the wife. Big up the wife.
Dan, what are you cooking Daniel for dinner?
Yes, please. Mate, she's doing pork chops and chips.
You jammy bastard.
Yeah, mate.
God, sir.
Hey, listen, mate.
Daniel's having a lunch.
They're saying about, the 5 tests for easing this lockdown. Well, I had to have 5 tests before I married her. Do you know what I mean? Like, 5 tests,
Guys in the chat room, that is Daniel looking for divorce.
she just turned around and said, "That's it. Your dinner's going to the dog." Hey, mate, this dog gets treated better than I do. Do you know what I mean?
Listen, guys in the chat room, as soon as we end this stream, you know, as soon as Daniel's camera's off, 2 black eyes, bang. You said what? Oof. But I forgot your no. Yeah, sorry. What I was going to say. No, I think it will benefit us.
Hey, I'm lucky. I'm lucky. I married a woman with a sense of humour, so it's all good. Yeah.
Exactly. Times like this, mate. It's all about sense of humour at the moment. Try and make light of a proper bad situation. You know what I mean?
Listen, currently 19 people watching this live, so do smash a like if you're new and hit the subscribe button.
Daniel, it's jumped up to 30 likes, mate. You got 30 likes.
30 likes. Listen,
cheers,
30 likes. That's brilliant. Thank you very much. So, Diesel, sorry I interrupted you. What were you saying?
No, that's all right, mate. That's all right. I was just going to say, I think it will benefit us because, for the simple reason, it's going to benefit us for the wrong reasons, if you know what I mean. Because we don't turn up away, and because the majority of these players, in my view, are so pathetic and weak-minded. And I will say that because I'm very harsh on these players. I don't rate them, right? What I don't rate even more is their mentality. I think it's disgusting, right? And it doesn't belong at a club of this stature, right? But that's the reason why I think it's going to benefit us, because there's going to be no fans. The Arsenal away fans, hard, brilliant, very loyal. Right, but when it's not going well for us, obviously, I think the crowd can sometimes affect the players. Not that it should, but it does, and I think if there's no fair Arsenal, Dan, over the years, you know this, Arsenal, when there's no pressure on Arsenal, right, they start playing well.
Yeah, exactly. I said this on so many streams. When the moment you take the pressure off us, we start playing like Barcelona. The moment you put the pressure on, we start playing like Accrington Stanley. Do you know what I mean? Like, it's fucking ridiculous.
And again, and that's why I say it comes back to the mentality of it now, because it does, irrespective of whether we make a mistake in the game or let a goal in. There's no fans there, so it takes away the pressure. Right, so Arsenal have got no pressure on them whatsoever. So for me, there's no excuse, right, to go to a neutral venue and play poor, right, and get smacked. You know what I'm saying? It'd be interesting to see how they do play, right, without fans. The lesser clubs, the clubs at the bottom, I do feel for them in a way, because obviously, their crowds are, they look at their crowd as like a 12th man. And when they're fighting relegation, any slight factor they can use, they do, and I think it's unfortunate for them. But listen, everyone's in the same boat. It doesn't really matter what club it is. Everyone's in the same boat, right? This is where football needs to come together, yeah. And all this moaning about certain things, you can't please everybody, Daniel. The best you can hope for is you please the vast majority. And you go for it. Just go for it. As you said, it's got to start up sometime. Yeah.
Yeah.
So, that's all I can say on it. But
listen,
because there's no pressure, I expect us to win every game.
Yeah, exactly. So do I, mate. Listen, we've been going for over an hour and a half, so I think we should wrap up.
Yeah, go on, mate.
Listen, so everybody, thanks very much for tuning in. Been a fantastic stream. Diesel, thank you very much for coming on.
Anytime, mate.
It's been an absolute blast, mate. And remember, guys, I'm going to be back tomorrow at 3:30 with my usual stream. Do smash the likes, do smash the subscribe if you are new, and take care, everybody, and stay safe. Most importantly, stay safe. And Diesel, look after yourself, mate.
No, you too, mate. Wish you well, yeah? Oh, and Dan,
cheers.
Before you go, there's a lot of people in here, really nice comments saying big up the wifey. So big up Suzanne. So she's got some fans as well now.
Big up Suzanne. She's developed a fan base as well on YouTube. That's good.
Big up Suzanne with the book chops.
Yeah. Anyway, guys, take care. Look after yourselves. Remember, subscribe, like, and comment, and all that jazz. and I'll catch you all tomorrow.
Lovely.